Welcome back. There's a new pest that's getting after raspberries and tart cherries here in North Dakota. Here to tell us more about it, NDSU Extension horticulturist Esther McGinnis, also NDSU entomologist Jan Knodel. Thanks to both of you for being here. So this thing is causing a ton of damage. What is it and what's going on, Esther?
Well, spotted-winged Drosophila is a 3-millimeter long vinegar fly, and it's really a game changer because it is changing how we're going to grow raspberries and tart cherries here in North Dakota. Now, the problem is that we didn't have to use insecticide to grow raspberries. Now, we used to have a little bit of a problem with some of our native beetles, but they didn't really cause a problem as long as you harvested your raspberries on a regular basis. But now we have spotted-winged Drosophila, and it attacks our raspberries as they're just starting to ripen, just as they're starting to turn color.
And how does it attack the fruit specifically?
Well, specifically, it has an ovipositor. So I essentially like to think of it as like a secret weapon on this tiny little insect. It's like a saw that's on its abdomen. It then uses this saw to drill into those firm, ripe fruits, and it will then lay its eggs, 1 to 3 eggs per hole. Now the problem is that those eggs will then ripen. As they ripen, the larvae will then crawl into the fruit and start to grow, and then they'll eat the fruit from the inside out. So you'll notice this. Your fruit will start to rot, and then when you go to pick your raspberries, they'll stick to the receptacle or they'll stick to the plant. So you'll have crumbly raspberries.
Wow, that's not good. The spotted-winged Drosophila. Jan, how do you know, I guess essentially, how do you identify this thing?
Well, as Esther mentioned, it's very small, just 2 to 3 millimeters, about 1/8 of an inch. And it's a fruit fly, and it has bright red eyes like most fruit flies do. And the male has a spot at the tip of its wing. And you can identify it by looking at that spot. You can see here the one from Grand Forks has the spot, so that's a male. Now the female fly, the one that lays the eggs and does most of the damage to the fruit by inserting the egg into the fruit, she doesn't have the spot, but you have to look at the ovipositor for that tooth, serrated ovipositor, which is the egg-laying apparatus.
And what's this trap that you brought with, and how do you use it?
Yes, it's a good way to find out if you have problems with the spotted-winged Drosophila. It's easy to make. It's a homemade trap. Just take a container from the deli, and then you need about 1.5 cups of water and a tablespoon of yeast, and about 4 tablespoons of sugar.
Wow. So how does this thing work? I get the sugar in there, the yeast, the water.
It fermentates, and that attracts the flies into the trap, and we've put some holes around the outside of the trap so the flies can get in. And then we break the surface tension of the water with a couple drops of just any detergent. And then mix it up. And it's ready to go. And then you can hang it on your tree or your raspberries, out in your raspberries. And the flies will come into the trap and then come down and drown essentially in the solution.
So once I notice maybe there's possibly some flies in there, then do I dump this into like some kind of strainer or something to make sure it's got...
Yeah, then you make sure when you're ready to check the trap, we recommend once or twice a week to go out and check the trap during when those fruits are just starting to ripen is when you want to get your traps out, because that's when you need to know whether or not to control them. And then just dump that solution into another container with a screen on the top, and the flies will be up on top of the screen. And then you can look for the spot in the wings, and you'll need a magnifying lens to see the ovipositor that's tooth.
And hopefully you make this trap, you're not going to find any of these
Right.
SWDs. I'm going to stick to the acronym instead. Stay with us when we come back. Let's say you do find some SWDs in there. What do you do next? We'll talk about that right after this.